Hello, and welcome once again to the Dental Marketing Mastery Series. This podcast is brought to you by New Patients Incorporated and NPIClick.com. I'm Howie Horrocks, the founder of New Patients Incorporated. Along with me once again is my friend and partner and the president of New Patients Incorporated, Mark Dilatush. Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to a podcast in our Dental Marketing Mastery Series. And we're very glad to have you. I'm Howie Horrocks here in Vegas, and my good buddy and the president of the company is Mark Dilatush, and he's out in New Jersey. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing fine, Howie. How is it? Is it below 9,000 degrees there yet?
Just barely, but
just barely.
Well, it's still triple-digit land. But
hey, how's the Raider Stadium coming along?
It's I think I read we're 75% complete.
Really? All right. Well, I'll be out there in a couple weeks. Maybe we'll drive by it.
We definitely will. Yes,
we will. So, what do we got today? What's on the docket?
What's on the docket? It's local SEO. What the heck is that?
Wow. Okay. So, for everyone who's unfamiliar with the way we do our podcasts, lots and lots of things have changed here at NPI. We've grown, probably doubled than what we were about a year ago.
Yeah.
And part of that is we have a content management person who, she's awesome. Her name's Crystal. And she is in charge of our social media and all the content that we put out there and the education and organizing. She does an amazing job. Anyway.
Yes, she does.
Part of that is, she does. And then part of that is she brings in the questions that we get. So when people engage whatever we're putting out there, they ask questions. So that's where these questions come from. So if you see our ads or you see something on Facebook or you go to our blog or you go to our new website, whatever, wherever you go, if you have a question, you want to put it on a podcast, please let Crystal know or let us know. You can put it anywhere, actually. It doesn't matter because she brings them all in. So
yeah, that's right.
Okay, so local SEO, what is it? For those of you who are not driving, for some of you who can run on a treadmill and look at your phone at the same time without looking like an idiot and falling off the treadmill, I would ask you to go do a Google search for almost anything with the words near me at the end, like Italian restaurant near me would be fine. You can even do dentist near me. That's fine too, if you want to make it perfectly topical. So what I want to do is while explaining to you what local SEO is, we might as well divvy up that search result page into thirds. Google local and local SEO, local optimization, takes up that middle third. It's the map, the balloons. There are listings under the map. There may even be an local ad underneath the map. If there's a local ad, usually they have 3 or 4 non-ad listings there. So that is the Google local piece of the real estate of the first page of every Google result that is of local orientation. Not every search on Google is a local. If you typed in gypsy moth into Google, you probably wouldn't get a local box. It would probably come back with images, some research papers, hopefully nobody named gypsy moth, but Google doesn't always give you a local result. But for the purposes of the conversation and the work that we do, that little piece of real estate inside that map and those listings that are visible underneath that map are very valuable to our clients and all dentists, not just our clients. It really helps your organic traffic to your website to be visible. within those maps to have your own balloon, A, B, C, D, E, however many they're showing, and to have your listing visible, because what's right next to your listing? The answer is your Google reviews. So you don't have to go too far to imagine that a dental consumer uses Google and their phone or their laptop very similar to the way you use yours. Just because you're a dentist doesn't mean that you use Google any differently. So if you Google, let's think for a second. Let's say you do Google Italian restaurants near me, and most there's actually retinal testing that bears this out, but most humans, about 80% of them, will look at the top, then look at the map, then look at the listings directly below the map. They may glance down to the organics, but it's pretty clear to us and to other marketers that Google is trying to emphasize Google Local and the ads above Google Local, de-emphasize organics. Does not mean that organics are not valuable, because they are. It just means it's kind of obvious what Google is doing. They're putting more ads above Google Local. They're putting local further down, which eliminates listings underneath, because most people just use.
Do you think they're doing that, Mark? Mark, I'm sorry. Do you think they're doing that? This is a facetious question. Do you think they're doing that because they would rather have those paid ads up in the visible area, more visible area?
I would say that's a plausible theory, Howie.
I'm working on it. I haven't fully developed it yet.
That's a good theory. So anyway, so how does a dentist, if they're not already on that Google Local, the map or the listings below the map, how do they get there? And the short answer is make sure everything in your Google My Business page, the name, even the hyphens, the commas, the address, the suite numbers, the spaces in between those addresses, the zip codes, every piece of data in that Google My Business listing is exactly identical in all of your other directories. A directory is something like Bing, Yahoo, Ask Jeeves, DuckDuckGo, all the other search engines, and all your social media properties. Google doesn't just index its own data, it indexes all the other data from all the other directories. So what it's looking for is consistency. Now, you may say to yourself, well, I don't even have directory listings on 30 of those other places. There's about 80 or 90 search engines out there that are valid. And you may say, well, I've never even heard of these other 50. And our answer would be, But I bet you that the three dentists above you underneath that map have heard of them. And they have updated their information exactly the same way in those directories. I would also say that the other dentists who are just in that map box have social media properties, and those social media properties also have all of their information consistently written. Everything's the same. Keep everything the same. So if the name of your practice is Affinity Dental of Des Moines, then it needs to be Affinity Dental of Des Moines everywhere, and down to the spaces in between the words, everything has to be written out and entered correctly, perfectly in each one of those directories. If you do that, and of course your social media, if you do that, very good chances that you'll begin to move up that pick list. Google will identify you as being more relevant because you're in more places and you're very consistent with your information. Relevance is measured somehow by Google. Nobody knows exactly how. But if you do that and you stay on top of it, because directories don't always take in your new information. Sometimes it takes them a month, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year. Sometimes directories change your information for no apparent reason. Sometimes assistants will log on or business administrators will log on, unbeknownst to the owner of the business, think they're helping and create a second Google business page. I mean, I could literally spend the next half hour telling you stories about all ways that dental teams and associates could mess up the owner of the dental practice by trying to do something. They think they're doing it useful. They're not nefarious human beings. They're trying to do something good, but what they're really doing is hurting the marketability of the practice. Howie, this might be a good break point.
Yep. Maybe we can cover some. Yeah, just you're reading my mind. So hang on. We'll be right back. Have you ever wondered if your marketing was really working? Result tracking is essential to all your marketing efforts. Without it, you're just guessing, which can be very expensive. With our NPI Click dashboard, you won't have to guess anymore. You will see every call, you can listen to every call, our humans will rate every call. Bottom line, you will have transparency into your marketing results like you had always hoped for. Check it out at npiclick.com. Okay, we are back and we're talking about local SEO. And Mark, before the break, you were mentioning that you could speak for an hour or so on the mistakes that well-meaning staff might make, or things that could go wrong with these directory listings, right?
Sure. And sometimes, and for the most part, none of these are nefarious. I mean, sometimes they are. Sometimes an associate will create their own Google My Business page utilizing the same address and actually get it. When you get a Google business page verified, Google sends you a postcard with a PIN number on it, and they'll get it verified for the same location as the owner's practice because they're working there. And now all of a sudden, now you have 2 different Google business page for the same address. And that's a pretty quick way to get to confuse Google. Google doesn't like confusion. Google likes everything the same. And they look at everything the same being, more relevant, less confusing to the searcher.
Yeah, if you have two different listings and one of them is spelled a little differently, or like you were just mentioning earlier, maybe there's an extra space. Well, Google recognizes that as a whole different entity, right? Mm-hmm. And so you don't get the I don't know what the right word is, exposure that you would if you were the same listing across all directories.
Correct. So that's Google Local. The way to get the first step is exposure. So the exposure to your balloon, I call them balloons, the A, B, C, D local balloons that show on the map where you hover over them and it says Dr. Tom Smith DDS. And then the exposure below that map, which is the listing. And so that's the exposure part. How do I get on the map? How do I get to that listing? Now, once you're there, what do you want to have to stand out? And the rest of this podcast is about, it's basically it's a war on for the consumer's mind. I mean, you should have, you don't have to have the most reviews, but you should have, you shouldn't have the least. You shouldn't have 4, right? So you should have, a good number of Google reviews. The sweet spot for your review score would be 4.7 to 4.9. That's believable. If you have 5 reviews and you have a 5.0, everybody knows you asked your whole family to leave you a review. Okay, so they may not even select you because of that. So that's the sweet spot, 4.7 to 4.9. Now, moving beyond that is your review score and the total number of reviews. What you do when you look for Italian restaurant near me is the same thing that a dental consumer. Remember, everyone, this is very likely someone who didn't receive anything from you. They didn't receive any advertising from you. They don't know you from anyone. They don't know what services you offer. Just like you don't know the whole menu of the Italian restaurant that you're looking for. You're just looking for an Italian restaurant. Then maybe you'll look at their reviews. Then maybe you'll look at their review score. You'll probably look at the top two. And if there's a train wreck on there, you're just going to look at the train wreck to laugh at them. And then you're going to go back to the top one or the second one. Probably look back at the balloons to see which one's furthest away. Probably click through to their website to take a look at their menu and their pricing. And then you're going to pick one. Well, guess what? That's what dental consumers do too. They do exactly the same thing. They're not eating, pasta, but, they're going to click through to see if Google's going to give them 3 or 4 to choose from and expose the Google reviews and expose the review scores to these people. That's a lot of eyeballs. That's a lot of very valuable property. Remember the old days with the yellow pages? Where dentists with 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 a month, 3,500, 4,000 a month, 4,500. And the old yellow page rep just used to drive around in a circle to all the dentists. And he'd get $500 more a month from every one of them. And it was all the jockey for the position where? At the very beginning of the yellow pages. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Google is nothing more than an electronic version of the yellow pages. Okay. And there's so many similarities to this whole business model. It's kind of spooky. Everybody says the yellow pages are old. And I don't know. Basically, Google just regurgitated them into pixels. But the same principles apply here. Okay, if you can get a lot of eyeballs on your office location on that map, and then a lot of eyeballs on your listing, if you have 100, whatever the number of Google reviews. It doesn't have to be 100. It just has to be somewhere around the number of reviews that the person or the office with the most reviews near you has. Like if the nearest person has 70 and you have 58, that's fine. That part doesn't matter that much. Just have to be close. It's the review score that matters the most and whether or not you're listed there. Okay. We can go into now, well, how do I get reviews? We're not going to go into, we have a product for that, but we're not going to go into that on the podcast. There are lots and lots of products out there that do this. If you're interested in getting a product that does this automatically, we can help you, but that's not what this is about. What this is about is getting there. How do I get there? It's making your Google business page directory listing accurate first, then copying that accuracy word for word, space for space, punctuation for punctuation to all other directories and all other social media properties, babysitting it and making sure that the directories have absorbed that new directory information and applied it on their end, which means you have to go and check all those websites. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. It's a lot of work, but that's how you get there. So if you're sitting there now and you're wondering, well, how come Bob and Jim and Mary, my local dentists in my town, how come they're on the map? How come I'm not on the map? I want to be on the map. Okay. If you're sitting there wondering why Google is, they're not penalizing. Well, they are. They're penalizing you because all that stuff isn't done yet. Okay.
Well, they take it personally too,
I know.
Why am I not up there?
But it's so incredibly, it's very inexpensive to get there, and it's definitely a worthwhile part of your annual budget to be in that map box and in those listings, assuming that your reviews are up to snuff and your review score is healthy, then if all those things are in place, my goodness, you just bought thousands of local eyeballs for, I'm not going to say nothing, but I'm going to say next to nothing. And you will be, remember from prior podcasts, there's several different media types, but there's two general media types. One is aggressive, the other one is passive. Most offline is aggressive, most online is passive. And what I'm talking about right now is purely passive. You're just sitting there waiting for some local consumer to type in dentist near me. You're hoping they look at the map. You're hoping you have a balloon in the map and a listing, and you're hoping they choose your listing. And after they look at the menu of all your offerings, they choose you through your website, call your office, and make their first appointment. So that is 100% passive advertising. But like we've said all along, you need a good mix of both. And it's a lot cheaper to do Google, local SEO than it is to say, in most markets, do organic SEO, and in most markets, maintain a healthy Google ad budget. So if you're going to try to get into, if you're going to start to play the game of search, that would be where we would start. We would just, let's get your local SEO going first, and then track the responses in the dashboard. You'll see them show up. It'll say social, or it'll say Google, or what have you. It'll also say organic, right? And once you see that show up, then you can say, oh, okay, well, that's worth, whatever it cost me to do that. And then you can expand out to organic, or then you can expand up to the ads. If you think about it, if you have an ad and you have local, you pretty much took up 60% of the first view of every Google search for dental services in your market. So it doesn't take forever, to get those things accomplished. So anyway, that's local. If you hear those terms, local SEO, Google local, Google My Business local, if you hear all those terms mean is getting you on the map, getting your listing below the map. And we are adding the piece that before you do that, or while you're doing that, make sure your reviews are up to speed.
Yeah. Well, that shall conclude today's podcast. We're certainly grateful that you're all out there listening to us, and we hope you come back next time. Bye now.
We hope you've enjoyed our podcast today. You can get all our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, and Libsyn.com, and on our websites newpatientsinc.com and npiclick.com.